Hello and welcome to the Hot Dog and Handshake Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Jayden. I usually say joining me as always is Shane Price, but he's not here. This week it is just me and Jolka. So Jolka, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. I hope everyone's doing pretty good because they're getting Make-A-Wish version of Shane this week.
So for the collar and elbow question this week, I don't know how tapped in you are to the internet wrestling community, but an old debate sparked back up. So I want to know, in your opinion, who is better, Sting or The Undertaker?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one to pick. Sting or The Undertaker?
Yeah.
They're both great in so many ways, but I'd have to go with The Undertaker because he's made his entire career, his entire living with the WWE. Besides a few months that he had in WCW before he became The Undertaker. But as The Undertaker, he's only been in one company.
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking Sting. I'm more of a Sting guy. I think Sting's better in the ring. I think Sting's a better promo. The Undertaker is a way more iconic character. He's got a lot bigger moments because, like you said, he was in WWE, so it kind of that stands out. But Sting also just his success and his changing of his character over time, which The Undertaker did too, to be fair. Like, it was always The Undertaker, but even within the dead man gimmick, there were different shifts and changes, which I always appreciated.
What's your favorite Sting?
Sting, I'm more of a Surfer Sting guy.
Me too, back when he was tag champions with Lex Luger.
Yeah, like that era, but I also, obviously, I love the Crow Sting. I love what he did in AEW, stuff like that. Undertaker, though, I think... For me, the best version of Undertaker is the few years after the American Badass, like when he went back to the dead man gimmick.
Yeah.
That's what I really like from him.
My favorite for The Undertaker, it would be when he switched from the gray gloves to the purple gloves.
Okay.
It really gave it that graveyard aspect to it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good pick. All right, on to outside the ring news. AEW has now made their pay-per-view archive available on Triller TV. So you can go on Triller, which is a service that shows all kinds of combat sports, a lot of pro wrestling, boxing, MMA. But you can now go on there and buy bundles of the pay-per-views by year. So 2023, 2022, back on, and the 2019 bundle includes All In from 2018.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah. So they're like, they range in price. Last year there were more pay-per-views. So last year's is like $55, but the rest are like $30, $35.
Which would you recommend to your viewers if they had to buy one of them? Which year would you buy?
I think probably 2021 is, like, for my money, probably the best one. I want to make sure I'm counting that right. Let's see. That's not it. I'm trying to remember if that was... Yeah, that was the year of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson debuting. That was, I believe, CM Punk's AEW debut, I believe, was in 2021.
Yeah, that was 2021.
So... and that's just a great year overall. I think a lot of people consider that one of the better years. I think All Out 2021 is one of their best pay-per-views. And then Full Gear 2021 is when Hangman Page wins the title, which I think is like the culmination of their best story. Right. So I think if you're going to get just 1 year, 2021 would definitely be the one I'd go for.
All right.
But honestly, can't go wrong with any of them. I don't think they've had a bad year yet. So
okay.
And then in WWE news, it was announced today that the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam will take place in Indianapolis. They announced that the Royal Rumble will be there on February 1st, 2025. So the first Royal Rumble in February, which is interesting. But no announcement on SummerSlam or WrestleMania. I would imagine we know that SummerSlam 2026 will be in Minneapolis. We know this year it's in Cleveland. So 2025 or 2027. And then we know WrestleMania 41 is in Vegas. So maybe Indianapolis will get WrestleMania 42.
That's the down part of being in Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah.
Nothing ever comes close by unless it's a house show.
Indianapolis is, I mean, it feels like a market similar size to Kansas City.
Right.
But Kansas City doesn't get stuff like this.
Exactly.
I don't know.
It was rumored WrestleMania 40 was going to be in Kansas City, Missouri.
Was it?
And I was excited for that. And then they switched it up to Vegas. I'm like, my wife will never let me go to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would guess the way they're going to do this is Royal Rumble in 25, WrestleMania in 2026. That would be 42. And then SummerSlam in 2027. I don't think they'd go to the same market for a Big Four twice in the year. But I don't know.
It all depends on how they do on that first show.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's an interesting deal, though, because, I mean, they never really done anything like this where they've pre-announced that a city is going to get all three of their biggest shows in, like, 1 year. Or in, like, at one time over the next few years.
Right. That threw me off guard when I saw it's like SummerSlam 2026. I'm like, 2026?
Yeah.
We haven't even got through 2024 yet.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. In talent news, Kayla Braxton will be departing from WWE after this week's SmackDown. So a longtime member of the broadcast crew. She's done ring announcing. She's done backstage interviews. She's done the Raw Talking Smack, sit-down show, stuff like that. A lot of network stuff. So I always thought she was great.
I thought she was pretty good. She was always interesting to watch. She did a good job behind the microphone. Where do you think she ends up from here?
I mean, it's interesting because unlike with like wrestlers, she could always end up going to like ESPN or something.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like with broadcast, with wrestlers, we're always like, oh, is it going to be AEW, New Japan? But with broadcast talent, like I think, didn't Charlie Caruso, who was with WWE a few years ago, I think she ended up going to like Fox Sports.
Right. And Jonathan Coachman, he ended up at ESPN.
Coachman was at ESPN forever. So it's really never know where she's going to be. Meltzer said that he heard she had at least talked to AEW. So who knows what that could be, if anything will come of that, or if Meltzer's even right, because I feel like recent years he's been kind of more 50-50 on his reporting.
Yeah.
Correct. But still a great talent. If she isn't on a wrestling show anymore, I'll be sad to see her not on my TV. But yeah. And then outside of WWE and AEW, we got some G1 results. In the play-in tournament, Callum Newman and Yoshihashi have advanced in the Block A play-in. Newman will face Kenta, and Yoshihashi will face Tomohiro Ishii on July 3rd. And in the B block, we have Oleg Boltin and TJP advancing. Boltin will face Hiroshi Tanahashi, and TJP will face Taichi on July 3rd to continue that little play-in tournament they're doing. So no block play yet, but we're just getting through it. Also this week, TNA announced a 6-way elimination match for their world title at Slammiversary, featuring now, of course, Moose, the defending champion. Josh Alexander qualified. But if there was any WWE NXT talent who found their way into that 6-man, who would you want it to be?
Ricochet.
Well, I guess Ricochet's gone.
Oh, that's right. He just left.
He just left. For the TNA world title.
You know what? This is going to be a little bit out there, but Dragon Lee.
Okay. I kind of like that. He's not... yeah, I like that, because it doesn't seem like necessarily the biggest stars have started crossing over in this yet, so somebody more in the mid-card. I think the dream one for a lot of people would be AJ Styles, because he spent like 10 or 12 years in TNA.
I was going to say AJ Styles, but then I thought everybody else was going to say AJ Styles.
Yeah. Other former TNA talents, though, like seeing Bobby Lashley in this match would be cool, or Drew McIntyre.
Oh, could you imagine if Drew McIntyre walked in on there?
Yeah, and then CM Punk went in and screwed him out of another world title.
Oh, my God. The internet would break.
It'd be awesome. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. I think for TNA, it's not something I'm usually pretty interested in, but usually Slammiversary is an interesting show.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. On to the TV of the week. We had kind of a rare occurrence. On AEW Dynamite, they had an eliminator match where the champions actually lost. The Acclaimed pinned the Young Bucks, so the Acclaimed will be getting a tag team title shot in the future. I know for a lot of people, the Acclaimed have kind of cooled down as an act. I don't know how familiar you are with them.
I'm not very familiar with them.
So we'll see how that goes. I think a lot of people were hoping for something bigger for the Young Bucks coming up, but we'll see where they take it. Chris Statlander beat Nyla Rose, and Pac beat Claudio Castagnoli in Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal matches. On Rampage, we had Leo Rush qualify for the TNT title ladder match, and we had Willow Nightingale defeat Serena Deeb in an Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal. And then on Collision, there's two big things. Okada versus Ultimo Guerrero was a great match. If people haven't seen that, try to seek out that match from Collision. And then something I do know you watched, because we just watched it before the pod recording, Jeff Jarrett's promo about Owen Hart.
That just makes you want to see Jeff Jarrett win the Owen Hart Cup.
It was just a real tear-jerking promo about Jeff Jarrett's history with Owen Hart, and because of course, for those of you who don't know, in WWE, just prior to Owen Hart's passing, like they were a tag team. They were tag team champions. They went up and down the roads together.
Right.
Great friends. And so Jeff Jarrett, he's the only guy in this tournament. I don't know if there's been anybody in an Owen Hart tournament before that actually knew Owen, or I guess Jericho, I think, might have been in the first one.
Yeah.
But like Jericho, Jeff Jarrett, Adam Copeland, like we're running out of time with the guys who actually knew Owen Hart. So it would be kind of cool to see Jeff Jarrett win this. I don't know how excited I would be for Swerve Strickland versus Jeff Jarrett being the main event of All In, but I kind of want to see him win.
I don't know. Swerve Strickland and Jeff Jarrett might surprise you.
Yeah, I think it would, but I think a lot more people would prefer like Swerve versus Bryan Danielson or Swerve versus Jay White.
In a perfect world, those would be great matches.
But I don't know. I think storyline-wise, Jeff Jarrett trying to, in his old age, find one more world title could be interesting.
I think that'd be a good way to not end his career, but be like the last big marquee that he gets.
The last big push for Jeff Jarrett would be kind of interesting. On to WWE TV. Did you watch Raw this week?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Seth Rollins returning out of nowhere.
No one expected Seth Rollins to come out.
I didn't see a report or anything. And we do this show on Monday. So Monday morning, early afternoon, I'm like looking at all the reports to get all the news together.
Right.
Nothing about Seth had been reported.
Yeah, not at all.
Complete surprise. Set up a match with Damian Priest at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view for the world title.
I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen because Damian Priest he's been showing more face tendencies as of late. Because classic heel would have been like, yeah, let's see if you can win Money in the Bank. But right away he was like, well, you can skip that and we can just do this. I
think that we're inching ever so closely to a Judgment Day breakup.
Yeah.
I think under the previous regime, they probably would have broke up 6 months ago. But I think right now, Triple H really likes a slow burn.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're in right now for the Judgment Day breakup.
That's why Dominic was unzipping that vest.
Yes, I do have that on here. Stealing Dominic's vest, just a hilarious bit from Liv Morgan.
Damian Priest made it the best.
Yeah, they're just, honestly, everybody involved in that storyline is so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I love Carlito. He keeps thinking that it's, to quote, cool with the Liv Morgan Dominic situation, and Finn and Priest would be like, no, not
right.
Cool. It's incredible. Everybody in the Judgment Day, and Liv Morgan included, are doing great work right now.
Absolutely.
So, but with that match, it'll probably be a banger. I mean, it's Seth Rollins. He doesn't put on bad matches very often, so I'm excited to see where that goes. A turn we had been waiting on for a while finally happened. Otis finally put his hands on Chad Gable.
Yes. Now, I really hope that this is Otis just stepping away from Chad Gable, or this might just be a stepping stone to him stepping away from Chad Gable.
Yeah, I think we have to get a blow-off match with that, at least at Money in the Bank, if not like a SummerSlam match.
Right. It's either that or see them both qualify for Money in the Bank.
The other thing is, and we'll talk about the Wyatt Sick6 later, but Chad Gable was part of the Wyatt Six attack.
Right.
My question is, what if that wasn't Chad Gable? Or what if that wasn't Wyatt Six? What if Otis laid him out?
That would be an incredible turn of events.
The other thing I was thinking is like the wound on his head was circular.
It looked like a gunshot wound.
Yeah, it did look like a gunshot wound. The bottom of a crutch is a circle. And Maxine has been having that crutch around, and that crutch has been part of this storyline. So if Otis just drove that crutch into his head repeatedly,
that
could have left the wound like that. That might not have been. That might be a misdirect. I don't know. It probably won't be. It'll probably be part of the Wyatt Six thing, but it would be kind of interesting.
That's the great thing about wrestling is you can speculate. You can speculate on these things, and sometimes it actually comes to fruit.
Yeah. So we'll see with that. Speaking of the Money in the Bank ladder match, though, we did see Io Sky qualify, as well as Jey Uso qualified, beating Finn Balor and Rey Mysterio.
That was such a great match.
That was an incredible match. Like I am so annoyed by the yeet character of Jey Uso.
I know.
But then he gets in the ring and just puts on a show.
Yeah, those three put on a clinic for sure.
Yeah, all three of them. I love when wrestling companies like, here are three athletic dudes. Let's just give them 15 minutes, see what they do.
Right.
And that's what that felt like. Really loved that.
I love that they didn't put Rey Mysterio under the bus. He didn't take the fall.
Yeah, I like that too, because it felt like it would have been an easy way to do that. But and then Drew McIntyre quit just to show up on SmackDown.
Yeah, I don't know if you can call that predictable.
I don't know. Like, I just wanted something, because like when he quit, I was like in my head like fantasy booking out this, like, he returns to TNA, he gets into that 6-way, Punk screws him there, then he has to come back to WWE, but he has to like fight his way back for his contract so that he could fight Punk at SummerSlam, like some sort of story. But he quits and he's back 4 days later.
I had it in my head that he was going to come back at some point. I didn't think it was going to be on SmackDown.
Yeah,
I was going to give it at least a couple weeks before he attacked
or
Punk.
Like, I don't know, Punk earns a spot in Money in the Bank. Drew quits, we don't see him, and then all of a sudden he pops up at Money in the Bank. You think Punk's about to win it, and Drew is the one there to tip the ladder over and screw him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something. Like, this was just enough. Like, you might as well just cut that segment from Raw.
There was a tiny part of me that remembered when Batista quit in the middle of the ring, and I thought, oh, this is a work, and he never came back.
That is true. I knew this would be a work. I didn't think that was a possibility, but
I gave it a 0.01% chance on the Richter scale.
So I don't know. And then we talked about Jey Uso, great match, and the Wyatt Six debut. So this is Uncle Howdy, portrayed by Bo Dallas, and then a few other characters that have not been named. I think Nikki Cross is supposed to be Sister Abigail.
Oh, that'd be something.
And then it's Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis, and Eric Rowan are there. There are people speculating that there will be a sixth member physically there. Some people, like, I talked to Shane about this, and Shane, his first thought was that Bray Wyatt is the sixth member. So there will always be 5 people here, and then there's Bray Wyatt. But they just laid waste to the backstage area. There were people laid out, like we said. Chad Gable was one of those. And that's the other thing.
I think Gunther was one of them, too.
Yeah, Gunther. Yeah, just all kinds of people were laid out. Referees, just random crew. But Chad Gable looked like he had been murdered. He's wrestling tonight on Raw. Like, no follow-through with this beatdown at all. So, because he's in a Money in the Bank qualifier tonight.
It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. It'll be interesting to see if Otis goes to ringside with him.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, honestly, at this point, whatever Chad Gable does on TV is interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just one of those guys now where I'm just excited. Like him, Drew, Cody Rhodes. It's just like, what are they doing this week? I'm ready.
And his contract was expiring with WWE, and he just recently signed a new deal.
Just re-signed. So we'll see where that goes. On NXT, Javon Evans wins a #1 contender battle royal to face Trick Williams at Heatwave. This is usually not that big of something we report on, but Javon Evans has had like 5 NXT matches, and they're already putting him in a title feud, which is huge. Because I think he's like 21. Like, he's a young dude.
Right.
And he's getting this NXT title feud already, which I think means that Triple H and Shawn Michaels have a lot of respect for what he's done so far and think he has a lot of potential.
Oh, absolutely.
So
The TNA guys, they lasted a long time in that battle.
yeah,
royal.
that battle royal. You had Frankie Kazarian lasted a while. Everybody loved Joe Hendry popping up just for him to be eliminated first. But
that's who I was referencing in that last one.
Yep.
But it's great to see TNA wrestlers in an NXT ring.
That is interesting. Never would I have thought that I would see Frankie Kazarian in an NXT ring. A guy who's been like an indie standout for like 20 years, 25 years. He was in TNA, Ring of Honor, AEW. Now he's back to TNA. Like, just not a guy I ever thought I'd see in NXT. It was kind of interesting to see him there.
Yeah, absolutely.
On SmackDown, we talked about a little bit. Punk shows up. He had a fun little reuniting with Paul Heyman, which I liked. A little segment with Solo Sikoa, and then he was attacked by Drew McIntyre. What a beatdown that was.
That was a massacre.
Yeah, that was great. And then Chelsea Green, Carmelo Hayes, and Andrade qualified for the Money in the Bank. I kind of like Chelsea Green as like a dark horse Money in the Bank winner.
It would be nice to see somebody dark horse win it.
Yeah.
And if anyone's going to be it, might as well be Chelsea Green.
Because that would kind of be a fun way for her, because she doesn't really have the credibility of someone to just like walk into a match with Bayley and win the title.
That leaves the whole Piper Niven storyline to be open for her to be envious of her and
exactly.
give her some matches before she goes into the championship.
Exactly. And I think just a character like Chelsea Green winning a title through kind of a sneaky way, even though it's a perfectly regular mechanic in the game of WWE, but kind of a sneakier way to win a title versus just a traditional winning a match makes more sense for the Chelsea Green character.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be kind of fun. And then Jacob Fatu debuted on SmackDown. And
just owned Cody Rhodes.
Yes. Jacob Fatu, a guy that Shane and I have been saying for a while that outside of Roman Reigns, he's the best wrestler in that family. And I think for those of you who don't know anything about him, he was on the Indies for a long time, did a lot of work in MLW. He was MLW champion for like 400 or 500 some days. Had a great match there with Alexander Hammerstone. So he's been on the Indies for a while. He's got a lot under his belt, and I think he's going to be really exciting to see in WWE.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to get into Forbidden Door predictions?
Yes.
All right. So this weekend we are going to we're going to watch Forbidden Door out of Long Island, New York. We have, I believe, 8 matches here set up for the card so far, with, I would imagine, 2 or 3 matches will be added this week. Because they usually run around that 10-match mark. I mean, that's kind of an AEW thing and a New Japan thing. It's usually around 10 matches.
Right. It gives a chance for some people to get into arguments this week on Dynamite and Rampage.
Yeah, exactly. And I think New Japan TV champion Jeff Cobb had issued out a challenge that is yet to be answered for putting his title on the line. So I don't know if that'll be something that it's a surprise on the night, or if that's something that'll be set up this week. But we definitely still have some loose threads that could turn into matches.
Right.
The ones we do know, though, first of all, the freshly returned Maxwell Jacob Friedman is taking on Hechicero from New Japan Pro Wrestling, or from CMLL, sorry. Hechicero is a legendary technical wrestler in Mexico. Kind of a Mexico equivalent to like a Bryan Danielson when it comes to like technical ability.
Okay.
So I think really it'll probably be a great match. MJF has great matches with technical wrestlers. I mean, he has great matches with everybody, but like his match with Bryan Danielson kind of stands out. So
yeah,
who do you think is going to win this one?
I think it would make sense that MJF's going to win it because he's got such momentum behind him right now.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a mistake to steamroll that momentum.
Yeah, his first pay-per-view match in 6 months. I don't think you want to have him lose. Shane and I both also picked MJF. In an Owen Hart quarterfinal match, we have Bryan Danielson taking on New Japan Pro Wrestling's Shingo Takagi. Shingo, a hard-hitting dude. They call him the Dragon, so this is the American Dragon versus the Dragon. Trying to think of a good comparison. Kind of in that Samoa Joe.
Okay.
A little bit smaller than Joe, but kind of that wrestling. Think of him kind of in a wrestling style.
How do you say his name again?
Shingo Takagi.
Shingo Takagi. That's who I'm going to go with because I think they're going to have to. They're not have to, but they're going to want some New Japan Pro Wrestling guys to advance farther in the tournament.
All right. So that's a. All right. Shane and I both picked Bryan Danielson, but I like that pick. A Takagi upset, I think, would be big. Another great technical wrestler, we have Zack Sabre Jr. from New Japan taking on Orange Cassidy from AEW. This is the one where Shane and I were like, this will be a New Japan guy win. So that's where we went with Zack Sabre Jr. But Orange Cassidy, he's kind of an AEW original, so you can always see him winning. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think Orange Cassidy is going to win that match.
All right. Next up, we have the first of a few title matches here, or first of 5 title matches. Toni Storm defending the AEW Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa of Stardom. New Japan doesn't actually have its own women's division. It has a partner company that is a women's-only company called Stardom. So Mina is from Stardom. She has history with Mariah May. Mariah May, who has been the kind of, I don't know, sort of tag team partner, sort of mentee of Toni Storm the last few months. I think Toni Storm wins this.
I was going to say the same thing. Toni Storm all the way.
Yeah, that's what Shane has also. In a ladder match for the TNT title, we have Mark Briscoe, the Ring of Honor World Champion, versus Konosuke Takeshita, versus Lio Rush from New Japan, versus Dante Martin, versus Jack Perry, versus a 6th person that is yet to be decided. Who are you going with to win this ladder match?
I'm going to go with the 6th person that's yet to be decided.
Ooh,
because
interesting.
The X Factor usually is the X Factor in those situations.
All right. I went with Jack Perry. Shane went with Mark Briscoe.
Okay.
So,
Mark Briscoe was going to be a close second.
Yep. And then in a double title match, we have TBS champion Mercedes Moné versus New Japan Strong Openweight champion Stephanie Vaquer. She's from CMLL. She holds a New Japan belt. She's wrestling in America. Very international wrestler, Stephanie Vaquer is. I don't know a lot about Stephanie Vaquer, so I couldn't really give you a descriptor of her, but she's just kind of the top woman in Mexico right now. And Mercedes Moné, among the top women in America right now. So, who are you going with to win both these titles?
If both titles are won, I'm going to say it's Mercedes Moné.
Yeah.
But they call me crazy, but they could both be at the top of the ladder grabbing their respective
This is just a
title.
regular match.
Oh, this is a regular match?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to say this is going to end in either a count-out, a disqualification.
So you're going with some sort of tie?
It's going to be a tie. They're both going to walk out with their individual titles.
I like that. I don't think anyone's ever predicted a tie on this show before. For the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, Jon Moxley versus the man he beat for that title, Tetsuya Naito. Shane and I both think Naito wins the belt back. We're going into New Japan's biggest tour of the year, and we both think that they want their championship to be on a guy who's going to be on that tour and not a guy that's going to be in America for most of it. So we're going with Tetsuya Naito.
I'm going to go with Tetsuya Naito as well, because if Jon Moxley is not going to be able to go out there for that tour, it doesn't really make sense for them to go on tour without a world champion.
Yep. And then the one that was possibly the hardest for me to pick, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay for the AEW World title. So Ospreay is the international champion, but his title is not on the line. He will stay international champion regardless of what happens. Swerve's AEW title on the line. What do you think happens here?
I think Ospreay walks out with 2 titles.
All right. Billy 2 belts. I like that. So, yeah, I think you got pretty vastly different picks from Shane and I. Shane and I were pretty much on point with most of it. So, Shane and I both picked Swerve.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So we'll have to see. This will be an interesting pay-per-view. I think it's hard to call exactly what's going to happen, but it should be pretty damn good. So moving on, we have time for my segment here, Jayden's Miscellaneous Notes. My first note here is I love that the main creative difference between Vince McMahon's WWE and Triple H's WWE is that they do murders now. It was insinuated a few weeks back on NXT that the D'Angelo family, which are like a mob-themed tag team group, that they had murdered Drew Gulak. We're all pretty sure that Braun Breaker murdered Ricochet.
Oh, yeah.
And during this week, we all thought Chad Gable was dead until Adam Pearce announced that he will be wrestling this week. So,
would it be great if they wheeled him down?
yeah, on like a stretcher.
Right.
And then my other note is Bryan Danielson is a damn good color commentator. And
absolutely.
When he hangs up the boots, I would love for him to commentate anywhere.
I'd love to see Bryan Danielson and CM Punk.
Just on commentary?
Just on commentary all the time.
That would be a fun, like, I don't know if you follow the NFL.
A little bit.
They do the Manning Brothers broadcast of Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It would be fun to just watch CM Punk and Bryan Danielson's broadcast of a wrestling show. Just them talking about it would be pretty great. I like that. On to our favorite things of the week. This, of course, is where we give our top 3 awards. Jolka usually does the 3 count. Shane hands out the bronze, silver, and gold handshakes, which he texted to me. And I will hand out the bronze, silver, and gold hot dogs this week. So we'll start with you. What's number 3 on the 3 count?
Number 3 is the CM Punk Drew McIntyre situation.
Okay. I like that. That was close for me. The bronze handshake from Shane this week went to Jon Moxley versus Josh Barnett at Bloodsport Bushido. It was a GCW event. GCW, an American company, but they ran a show in Japan. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport happens every year. There's a few of them. There's usually one around WrestleMania weekend. And this was their first time doing a Bloodsport event in Japan. The fun difference with Bloodsport is there are no ropes, and it is more of like an MMA style pro wrestling show, even though it's still scripted pro wrestling. But
okay,
usually pretty much a bloodbath.
That sounds, just the name of the show makes you want to watch it.
Yeah. So this was the main event. Jon Moxley, his only loss at a Bloodsport show was to Josh Barnett, and now he got his win back. So they're 1-1.
Oh, right.
So we might see a trilogy there at some point.
Love tiebreakers.
Yep. My bronze hot dog goes to Kazuchika Okada versus Ultimo Guerrero. Okada had an eliminator match against the legendary luchador, who was trained by Ultimo Dragon. That's where he got the Ultimo name. They had a great match, even with Guerrero being up there in age. Just they put on a great match on Collision. So that was what I gave my bronze to. What's number 2 for you?
Number 2 for me is Paul Heyman and CM Punk's interactions. Not the bloodline coming in afterwards, but just the genuine interaction between CM Punk and Paul Heyman.
That was really nice. For Shane, it was that Jeff Jarrett Owen Hart Cup promo that we talked about. Just so good. I don't even know how much more I could talk about that. And for me, the silver hot dog goes to Finn Balor, Rey Mysterio, and Jey Uso for that match on Raw. I really enjoyed that match. And now for your number 1. What was the best thing you saw this week?
I think it's going to be a pretty much around the board. Maybe I'm wrong, but the introduction of the Wyatt Six.
Yeah. My thing is, I never really loved the spooky stuff.
Oh, no.
Like, it just doesn't hit me in a wrestling sense. Like, growing up, even as a kid, I was like, The Undertaker's cool, but, like, wasn't one of my favorites. I wasn't, like, always excited to see The Undertaker. Like, I mean, by the time he was a part-timer, it was like, oh, cool, The Undertaker's here.
Right.
He's a legend, right? But I was never grabbed by that. Like I said earlier on the show, I've always preferred Surfer Sting over Crow Sting. I thought the Fiend stuff was cool. It was just booked poorly, and the one thing I did really like is I really liked Demon Finn Balor.
I love Demon Finn Balor.
That one I was always really interested in, but the spooky stuff just doesn't really grab me. So maybe the Wyatt Six will be pretty good, but I'm just kind of skeptical of how much I'm gonna like it from now, because it was a cool segment, but it wasn't like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Especially because of, I mean, what has it been, like 4 months of these random QR codes and teasers and stuff?
Right.
It wasn't like a surprise of any kind.
No, everybody knew it was coming. I just didn't personally know when.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting a scene like that.
Yeah, it was pretty hardcore what they did. Shane gave his gold to Hechicero versus Zack Sabre Jr. They wrestled on a co-branded CMLL New Japan show called Fantastica Mania in Mexico this week. Kind of a preview of Forbidden Door, because they both have their own separate matches against AEW talent. But that's a match that I know a lot of people wanted to see for a long time, because they're both just two great technical wrestlers, and they just wanted to see them get in the ring together. So I get why I like that. And for me, the gold has to be Jeff Jarrett's promo. Like nothing got me emotional the way, like emotionally entangled the way that this promo did.
Right.
It made me rethink my entire thoughts on this tournament.
Right. And Jeff Jarrett almost.
Yeah, because he was kind of just like a guy that was there for a while. But now it's like, man, am I about to root for Jeff Jarrett to win this tournament that Bryan Danielson's in? Right.
You have to really contemplate life decisions. Like, is Jeff Jarrett going to be? Am I cheering for him?
Yeah. Like, do I want Jeff Jarrett to be world heavyweight champion?
Right.
Is that? Yeah, I've got to do like some real soul searching about Jeff Jarrett this week. On to the lightning round, which is not going to be so quick this week because we do have a lot of matches to preview. Starting on Raw, 5 matches already announced tonight.
That's a whole PLE.
Yeah. First, we have Ludwig Kaiser versus Braun Breaker. How excited are you for this out of 10?
I'd say probably a 4 because Braun Breaker's going to run through him.
I don't know. Kaiser's kind of a sneaky dude. I think it might be a more competitive than we think it'll be.
I hope so.
It'll be like kind of the power versus... I mean, it's brains versus brawn is what it is. It literally Braun Breaker, but like it's a big guy versus a smart guy. So I think there could be some cool psychology for that match.
I hope there is.
And then we have the Unholy Union, Alba Fire, and Isla Dawn in a non-title match against Katana Chance and Caden Carter.
The Unholy Union.
Yeah. What's out of 10? How excited are you?
I'd probably say 7.
7?
I'm loving anything they've been in lately.
Yep. How excited are you for Kofi Kingston versus Karrion Kross?
That would be an 8.
Yeah, this has been kind of like a low-key interesting story. I think it's been overshadowed by like the Judgment Day and Drew and Punk and Chad Gable, but they've been kind of planting like, is the New Day gonna break up?
I know,
it'd be crazy to see, because I think later this year is the 9-year anniversary of them being a tag team.
If the New Day break up, there's no way you don't see Kofi Kingston taking on
Woods.
Yeah, Xavier Woods.
Yeah, I don't want to see it happen because I love those guys together, and I just never want to see them break up. But that would kind of be a hell of a SummerSlam match.
It would be. If they stay together, I still see turmoil, but Big E will jump in as the voice of reason.
Maybe this is setting up a Big E return. I didn't even think about that. He's been gone so long. That's a good point. In a Money in the Bank qualifier, we have Bronson Reed versus Chad Gable versus Braun Strowman. How excited are you for this, and who do you think is going to win?
I'd put that at a 6.5, and I think Chad Gable's going to qualify for Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm. I could see Bronson Reed making it in. Braun Strowman doesn't... I mean, he's been a Money in the Bank winner before, but he's not someone I'm excited to see in a ladder match.
Right.
But I also would go with you on Chad Gable. And then the women's qualifier, we have Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler versus Lyra Valkyria.
I want to say Shayna Baszler.
Shayna Baszler?
They're going to want a couple of girls with more experience.
Yeah. Kyrie is a good high flyer, though, so I would love to see her drop some elbows off some ladders, but I think Shayna Baszler, too. I might be 10 out of 10 excited for this. This is going to be a great match.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you going to give it?
I'm going to go 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. On AEW Dynamite, we have Mariah May, Mina Shirakawa, and Toni Storm. So Toni teaming with her opponent at Forbidden Door against Saraya, Anna Jay, and Harley Cameron. I'm probably at like a 3 for this. Like Saraya, Harley Cameron don't really excite me, but it's at least something that's going to push this storyline that last step before Forbidden Door.
Yeah, I'd say I'm about a 2.5, because I'm not too familiar with everyone. But I'd say I don't think Toni Storm's team's going to win, because one of them is going to cost the other the match, and then they're going to blame it on each other, further their storyline.
And then we have Rey Fenix versus Jay White in an Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal. This is a 10 out of 10. Like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Swerve Strickland teaming with Will Ospreay. So another opponent's team up situation against the Gates of Agony.
I give that a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I would probably land at like an 8.5 or a 9, but I think Dynamite's going to be exciting this week. And then on SmackDown, we have 3 Money in the Bank qualifiers announced. Candice LeRae versus Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton.
I'm going to have to go with Tiffany Stratton. I love Tiffany Stratton.
How excited would you be for this triple threat?
10 out of 10 for sure.
See, I kind of figured that Jade and Tiffany would be both be in the Money in the Bank match. But also I thought Bianca Belair was going to win last week, and Chelsea Green ended up winning. So I don't really know.
Because they're going to be setting up Bianca Belair versus Jade.
So maybe I think I would go with Tiffany too, and I'm pretty excited for this. I would say probably like a 7 for me.
I get more excited on the women's matches because when I was growing up, the women's matches what we used to call smoke break because they were just there because they had pretty faces.
Yep, that is fair. Then we have Naomi versus Blair Davenport versus Indy Hartwell. This one doesn't really excite me. I think Naomi's probably going to win.
I'd say Naomi. I'd probably maybe a 2 for excited for that match.
I was going to say like a 3 or 4, yeah. And then LA Knight versus Santos Escobar versus United States champion Logan Paul.
I'm a 10 out of 10 on that because I like Logan Paul's work, and I love anything LA Knight.
Yep, same. So I think as much as I hate Logan Paul as a person, I love his work.
He's a terrible person.
I think Santos escapes with a win here because Logan Paul and LA Knight get too focused on each other.
Yeah, I see them both. Although there's no count out, so it's gonna have to go. It's gonna be a pinfall one way or another. Yeah, but I think it's just something about they don't pay enough attention to Santos, and after one of them hits their finisher. Like LA Knight hits a BFT on Logan Paul, Santos sneaks in, hits whatever his finisher is on LA Knight, and gets the pin, kind of deal. I think that's about the way it's going to go down, but I think it would be more of Logan Paul using the brass knuckles on LA Knight.
And then Santos sneaking in.
Santos stealing it from Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Because that'll get a good crowd pop as well.
Yep. And on Collision, we have Hikaru Shida versus Deonna Purrazzo in an Owen Hart Cup match. Probably like a 7 for me. They're both good wrestlers. I'm excited to see it.
I'm going to have to go midway through there, give it a 5 because I'm not really familiar with either of them, but I am going to try to catch this one.
All right. That's it for the lightning round. My match recommendation for the week. This week we saw the surprise return of Seth Rollins. So I think I'm going to recommend people go back and watch his match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania 31. I think that's an incredible match. That's the same night he ends up cashing in Money in the Bank. But for my money, the better match that he has is with Orton that night. So that's my. I'm assuming you watched that WrestleMania probably. Do you remember that one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. The spot where he goes for the curb stop and Orton bucks his head up out of it.
Yeah, and grabs him with the RKO.
Best RKO of all time.
Oh. Close.
There have been some good ones.
Evan Bourne, I think, has it.
Shooting star into the RKO. That's a pretty great one, too. So
it's hard to pick one of them. Mm-hmm. There's just so many.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to more of us, you can check out the classic review that came out last week of New Japan Dominion. And then later this week, we will be releasing our review of the 3-way co-branded WWF, All Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestling Summit show that Jolka was on with me and Shane for that one. So that'll be coming out this week. And then I've been on the Spotify release of these episodes. I haven't been like mentioning it, but I've been putting a poll up every week because that's an option they give you. I'm going to start mentioning it beforehand. And for anyone watching on YouTube, feel free to comment your answer. The poll this week, real easy and simple. Sting or Undertaker? Take your pick. Jolka went with Undertaker. I went with Sting. Can't go wrong with either one of them.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you like to make a wager? Not for money. If Sting is more popular than the Undertaker, I'll let you give me a chop, and vice versa.
No, I don't think so. Don't think I want to take a chop. I think we'll just see how it plays out.
If the Undertaker wins, I'll take a chop again.
Yeah. So that is it for this week. Thank you to Jolka for filling in for Shane this week. Shane's on a road trip across like the whole eastern half of the United States right now, so he will be back next week.
Hopefully he's not duct taped in someone's trunk right now.
Yeah, hopefully. He sent me his predictions and some notes on some stuff earlier, so hopefully.
But would him being tied in a trunk stop him from getting his predictions out?
Probably not. So thanks again for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff on every platform, and of course, just continue to enjoy wrestling.